All right, I'd like to call to order Town Council regular meeting, July 18th, 2024, Cape Charles Civic Center, 6 p.m. Could I get a roll call, please?
Buckholz present.
Holloway present.
Bennett present.
Buda present.
Grossman present.
Let it be known we've established a quorum, and does John need to announce himself or no? No, okay. If we could all stand for a moment of silence and pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Turn this down some. There we go. All righty. So first off, we will have recognition of visitors, presentations, and recognitions. And first off, Coast Guard Station Cape Charles Appreciation Proclamation. All right. Town of Cape Charles Proclamation 20240718 Coast Guard Appreciation Day will be August 3rd, 2024. Whereas Coast Guard Station Cape Charles provides service to the nation and our region by being always ready, Semper Paratus, to perform their mission, and whereas Coast Guard Station Cape Charles embodies the U.S. Coast Guard core values of honor, respect, and devotion to duty, and whereas Coast Guard Station Cape Charles is committed to excellence by supporting and executing operations in a proficient and professional manner, and whereas Coast Guard Station Cape Charles leads by example, facing challenges each day to protect and serve the maritime community to ensure the safety and security of the people on our waterways, and whereas the U.S. Coast Guard was founded 234 years ago on August 4th, 1790, now therefore be it proclaimed that the Town Council of the Town of Cape Charles hereby recognizes August 3rd, 2024 as Coast Guard Appreciation Day and calls this observance to the attention of all our citizens. Thank you. All right. Next is going to be... I'm sorry.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt Proclamation 20240718.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to, along with that, just to announce to everybody, if they haven't seen already, that the celebration will be on August 3rd. There are definitely two different things that are happening throughout that day, so keep an eye out for it and happenings, as well as, I don't know if it's in the Gazette.
I've got a special Gazette going out
Okay.
early next week.
Yeah. And at Central Park the night of the concert, so.
It actually was moved up for the actual proclamation is going to be 12:30
Okay.
at the...
Very dock, right?
correct.
I did see two different things, that's why I said two things, I was like, oh.
Because they want to actually be part of the rescue
Yeah.
and also get on the
Yeah.
yacht or ship, so,
So hopefully all of our citizens will listen in and go and support that on August 3rd.
correct. And it's going to be out on a bunch of different pages, so
Yeah.
we'll have more information on that. All right, moving on. Demolition by neglect presentation, Katie Newt.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I was here about a year ago with this similar presentation with our first report on derelict structures between myself and our building official, Jeb Brady. He unfortunately cannot join us this evening because the team that he coaches has been successful, and they are on the road to defend their title. So, but he wishes he could be here. I know he does. So, with that said, we've given you some updated information, just so everybody's aware of the process. We know we have several homes that we need to tend to in the district. It takes a lot of time from staff perspective to actually manage these and work these through the system. So we don't throw them all in at once. We try and stagger them out. So I just want people to have patience with us as we work with the cases we do have. We keep a running list, and we will continue to move them forward as we can, as time permits. With that said, I did want to give you an update of the cases you heard last year that we were working on. Here on the corner of 426, 428 Randolph, that's where we were when we started this back in 2022, 23, is the picture on your left. Oops, I should turn it so everybody can see. They had started to make some progress because some of the boards had been replaced at that point several years before, but not much else had happened. So we worked extensively with the property owner. They engaged a contractor. They're not only doing exterior renovations, but interior work will also be occurring. Most of their work is focused on the exterior and getting that into full compliance. We are almost complete of saying all of their exterior approvals are done at this point that we've extended. So I know they are working, even as I came in, trying to do some of the painting on the roof porch. So progress is being made on that one. The next one up was relative to, this is a far reach for you guys, for some of you. Back in 2021, we had an unauthorized demolition of the house at 542 Jefferson that you may recall. We had given them authority to do renovations, and their contractor over a weekend didn't just renovate, he demolished the whole thing, as you may recall. We ended up in a violation notice with them. There were penalties paid and then required to rebuild the house. It is no longer considered a contributing structure in the district because it is new construction, but we are still holding them to address the violation. It has been slightly of a challenge, but ultimately I think good news I get to report today. This property is sold. We have new owners. We have met with the new owners. We've made them aware of the obligations of the violation notice and where they are, so they are bringing us back revised plans and recharging all of the building permits, because all the building permits had once again expired on this house. So they are going to be reapplying and moving forward, and they have an active plan to actually get this house renovated. So we are feeling much more confident we will be able to close this violation over the next calendar year, over this next 12 months, I should say.
Katie, on that one, did we have some discussions that were to have rebuilt this house in the same
Yes.
fashion?
They
And-
needed to same footprints with the porch there, no enlargement of sizes, no nothing, because the removal of it was in total violation without any approval, so they had to at least restore the exact same look. It just will not be classified as a contributing structure because it is not historic.
Okay.
Yes.
Even though it doesn't look like it, it's still.
Is this a side picture, side view of it?
No, this is, the yellow picture is
other
the actual, the other house, the neighboring house. What we were showing you is all the demolished.
The white one.
What about the pre-demolition?
White
The
was
pre-demolition was the front view. We did change because there had been renovations. Those window placements, they had taken out a window along the way, so that was not original. So we pushed them back into the original status. The wings were actually encroaching on the side setbacks, so we cleaned up the encroachments, so they brought it back into zoning compliance for the lot under our zoning ordinance. Okay? So the next one up, I thought I was coming today with much better news on 1 Fig Street, and sorry to say I am not. We issued a notice of violation. Again, to give you some history on here, as you may recall, we've been at this for now 2 years. We authorized them through the Historic Board to do first some demolition work and removal of asbestos and lead and other remediation for the property. We allowed them to come back, and they came back within 2 months with their plan of renovation that got approved. And then it stalled. For more than a year, that plan stalled. We continued to work with the property owner. They had a contractor on board. There were issues with their contractor, and that led to the delay of that project moving forward. They finally came in within the required timeframe, more than, that was last August, had secured a new contractor who would do the work that was needed to put the roof back on, and a roofing permit was pulled, and that extended the clock. Unfortunately, no further work happened beyond the initial building permit getting pulled. And that was not the fault of the contractor. There still was not actually a signed agreement between the contractor and the property owners to do the work. And so that all expired in April. And it took me a little bit of time to get the notice of violation drafted with Jeb on this property. We got that issued, and then a period of time to get a response from the property owner. They Within that notice of violation, they needed to provide us a signed contract with the general contractor that included the schedule of values, full scope of work, and a timeline of completion of those values. All we were trying to do was not fully renovate the entire building. We needed it buttoned back up. We needed it fully enclosed, no longer exposed to the elements. So this is putting back a roof, windows and doors, and patching any holes that may be in the brickwork. That was the extent of what we're asking them to do at this point in time. Also in the notice of violation, we asked for a financial assurance letter from their bank or whoever they're obtaining their financing through. Those are all elements required to address this notice of violation and were supposed to supply to me by the beginning of July. I received the signed contract. I've talked with their contractor. I have the scope of work, I have the schedule of values and the timeline. I never have received the financial assurances or surety that they actually can afford this contract. So they are still in violation. And at that point, Mr. Brady and I will be coming back to you next month with a plan of action for this town to address this property. Since we are unable to get the current owner to come in compliance, we will have to be taking over the project, and that will be the imposition of liens on the property to address the costs associated with that. So we have some work to do to come back onto your calendar for next month to now take ownership of this. Okay? Any questions on that one? Because I know that was not where I wanted to be tonight. I can tell you
And
that.
didn't we also include something that said we're not going to give you a permit to open another business in town?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So can you clarify?
On hold.
Well, and they just finished up their Eastville.
And nor have they applied for any permits for any other property in town. I'm just making you aware of that. Yes, we've had some initial inquiries. They might be interested in another property in town for a commercial project, but that was part of our notice of violation. Yes.
Go ahead.
So you said that we take over the property. Are we taking over the renovation to close it up, or are we actually obtaining ownership of the property?
Not ownership at this point in time. We would have to solicit bids, secure a contractor under our procurement policies, come to you with the pricing associated with that. You would have to appropriate the funds and give us authorization to enter in said contract and do the work to bring the building into a condition where it's no longer in a threatening state from weather conditions.
And then that.
And I am making, and I'm sorry, I am making an assumption you would not be supportive of demolishing this structure.
That is
No.
I thought so, and so that's where we're proceeding from.
So my question was, so it's obviously up for sale as well again.
Yes.
So new owners come in, purchase the property. What is their timeline at that point if they want to then secure it, get it ready to go and everything else? Does their
They would
clock
have to have
start from there?
they would have to have a conversation. We know the notice of violation has been served on this property. So even if it changes hands, I am not required to do new service to new owners. And I've actually informed the realtor who's carrying this property of this notice of violation. So they're aware of the contents of that compliance requirement.
So if a new owner could come up with a contract, a timeline, and the financial assurance,
That would make me very happy. So,
So basically it's 30 days is what you're saying? Okay.
yes.
if the current owners were to come up with financial assurance between now and when we meet again,
It's possible if they can assure me that they have the funds in hand and they are committed and dedicated for this project, then I may be able to come back to you for your August meeting and say, this is where we are, we're good. But I'm not confident because we have given multiple deadlines, as you can see from the calendars I've given you. We've been at this for some time and almost every single deadline imposed has not been met.
I mean, there's no incentive for them to do anything at this point.
No. So. Okay. And we had this on our list last year. We said it would be the next one in the queue at 619 Mason. One of the things that we were successful in doing, we had located who was the heir to this property because it was owned by somebody else who passed on. So we reached out to the heir. Some communication was opened, and through that process, they located a purchaser of the property who had experience in historic renovation, and you're familiar with him. It was been purchased by Ware Neck Properties, which Kerry Shackelford is the individual behind that. So he purchased this in September of '23. I did give him authorization to do some tree cutting in the front so he could have some light inside. And they did a massive clean out. It was 3 full weekends, I believe. They emptied dumpsters and dumpsters and dumpsters of stuff from the interior of the house.
Order.
And at this point, he hasn't moved much further just because he was also working on other properties here in town, one being the house move further up the street on Mason. That delayed him being able to focus on this property. He has come in, gotten his building permit at this point in time, or the building application to move that forward. So I think we're going to start seeing some real progress occurring on this property this fall. So this is our most recent cases. So we have, again, started what we have done each time is what we call our early intervention. We reach out to them, we phone them first before we start issuing letters of compliance. And so yes, at this point we have made phone contact with all of them, but we have now followed up with eventually notice of violation letters for these properties that I'm going to talk to you about. So the first one is at 115 Fig. So on this one, we have now received a response from the property owner with a plan of action. He has now provided all that to us. We're in the process of accepting that plan of action. He'll be not doing a full renovation of the interior as well. He'll be replacing the front porch. He'll be scraping and painting all of the house siding and trim work here, and painting it. And we have asked as part of that he needs to patch all the holes that may be in the siding on all 4 sides so that there is no entry for critters or anything around there. He's going to be removing a whole bunch of trees on the left side of the property that are encroaching onto the foundation. And we have asked for the boards that are covering up the windows, and yes, there are a couple of still gaps in windows. He's going to ensure all windows are secured. We're going to ask that he actually paint the boards the same color as whatever the siding is going to be, so it at least blends a little more harmoniously in the neighborhood. So we have a plan of action for him, and we're working him through the permitting process for that particular home. The next one up was at 122 Pine Street.
On 115, is there any particular reason why he's holding on to it, not selling it, as he said?
He has not indicated his long-term plans for this property.
It's been there ever since I've been here.
Yes.
21 years.
Yes.
Same, looks exactly the same. It's sad. We should just sell it so it could get renovated.
I'm not disagreeing. It'd be great if we had a longer-term vision for this, but at this point, he does not have to provide that to us. If he does these things, he will have made it in compliance with our demolition by neglect policy for the exterior, and he would have addressed all of the building code violations by buttoning up every opening at this point in time and having no loose peeling paint or rotted boards near the entry. The next one up is 122 Pine. We have spoken with this property owner. I can't say that we are in a plan of concurrence at this point. We have given him an extension of 30 days, so he has until August 15th, sorry, to come back with us with a full plan of action here. There's not a tremendous amount that needs to be done, but we are seeing signs of neglect with the brickwork. There needs to be some repointing done. There's, as you can see on the picture to the right, there's too much overgrown ivy occurring on the building, which is going to cause damage to it. So we've asked them to start cleaning that up as well. And you can't see it on the far side right. Some additional trees are going to need to be removed as well. So
I thought they had done some brickwork.
They had done some.
The wall was bulging out.
They
right?
had done some brickwork about 4 years ago,
And they just. that was
and
it?
that's all they did. That's correct. And then there was new
See where it's
ownership,
pointed out.
and they have not done anything
Oh, new
further.
ownership. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
About 15 or 18 years ago, they worked on it. It looked a lot better than this.
400 Jefferson Avenue, this is probably one of the more involved projects that are sitting out there, just because there's a great deal of history from the African American community in this property. It is 2 structures on this property. We are asking that all of the grasswork be cleaned up and shrubbery around it be cleaned up. We're asking for any openings to be, again, closed and dealt with. We are asking for the peeling paint along all the siding to be addressed. And we are pretty confident there's a feral cat population living in there, so all of that's going to have to be cleaned out. We're not asking that they have to do any interior renovation work, although we know when the time comes, there's going to be significant interior renovation work that has to happen. We've also provided a 30-day extension to this property owner as well, because they are reaching out to see if they can get some funding assistance, because they don't currently have the funds to address this. We also have asked them what's their long-term strategy of inheritance or ownership of this property from the current owner. She has indicated there is relatives, a relative or nephew that would most likely inherit this property, so we are trying to engage him in developing a long-term strategy for this property.
Yeah, has Jeb been inside?
Not most recently, not in the last year.
I can
no.
tell you the structure's pretty banged up.
So we're not disputing there's got to be, but at this point, we're just trying to ensure that there's no way to get inside from any critter,
Yeah,
creature,
I'm just
cat,
worried, just
dog.
because I used to live across the street, that, if we get a bad enough hurricane, it's gonna come down.
It's going to come down.
He did not make that assessment in the letters that went out on this property, no.
Jeb didn't?
No, he did not.
Okay.
Well, if he hadn't been inside, he wouldn't know that.
So
I've been
it's
inside.
been at least a year since I think he's been inside, but he did not feel that it warranted that the last time he was in there, no. The next property was at 636 Madison Avenue. We have provided some pictures on this one. Again, there's some roof holes. So again, this property owner has provided us their structural, I think it's this one, has provided us is it this one? The structural report? Yeah, we have the structural engineer's report on 636 Madison Avenue. We're meeting with that property owner in the next week or so just to confirm their plan of action for that to be addressed. So this one is definitely moving along to a plan of action to be taken care of.
The good old birdhouse, still around.
649 Monroe,
Birdhouse.
similar case that we are dealing with the property owner, but we don't have a full plan of action. This one's a tad more delayed because the property owners indicated they own other properties, one in the historic district within the town of Cape Charles, one outside of the town of Cape Charles. They are focused on completing those renovation projects first. They plan on putting those properties on the market in September, October, and then can turn their attention to this property. This one is not just an exterior one. They wish to actually do full renovation inside. So we are allowing them until September, and we will come back to them then. And we expect an entire plan of action and timeline to address this with applications forthcoming on this property.
How current is that back picture? Because I called Jeb 2-3 months ago because the windows were blown in.
Sure. The picture on the left is an old one.
All
The
right.
picture on the right is current.
All right.
Yes.
Because they're all new windows in there. Well,
No,
not-
they
it's now 4
replaced the
years old.
windows
Yes.
15 years ago. They put windows in it. That's why they call it the birdhouse, because birds all took over. But the back windows blew in, probably because either the nails rusted or whatever, so the birds were going back in it. And there was some people complaining about it, so I had Jeb look at it.
So that's where we are. No, we did not update. We kept last year's photos so we could see the progression of time, what has occurred on the
getting worse.
property. So that is all the cases that we have ongoing in our departments, the 2 departments. And before I depart, I did want to introduce you to our new staff member. As you recall through the budget process, we had 2 part-timers in our office that didn't quite work out. And so with your approval, we moved to a full-time position, supplementing Tracy as a full-time position in our department. So Jack Steinmeier is here, and now each of you have had a chance to meet him. So he will be working with me on all of these, plus planning work. So you'll start seeing him at our meetings as we take up the zoning ordinance again. And that's all I have.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, Katie and Jeb, for moving this forward. It's been on our list for a while. It's great headway.
It's great that there's only a handful of them left.
Yes.
There used to be about 50 or 60 of them.
All right. Do we have any public comments?
Nobody
This
has-
evening.
Nobody has signed up, and I did not receive any in writing prior to the meeting.
All right. Then can I get a motion on the consent agenda to approve the minutes and approval of May 31st financial report?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, no unfinished business. New business, reappointment of library board member.
All right, so Mr. Mayor, we have, seats committee vacant again, coming on, due again for Kroger. It's just an incredible, resource for the library board, and staff would strongly recommend, approval of reappointment.
Make a motion, we reappoint Mr. Richard Berger to the library board for another 4-year term.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, you have been reappointed.
Thank you, Mr. Berger.
There you go.
Yes.
Thank you. Right.
All right, revision to town code water, oh, what, I'm sorry? Oh, John, did you say something? Oh, no, all right,
No, go ahead, sir.
okay, thank you. Revision to town code water and wastewater.
So, for this one, I'd like to extend my appreciation to Bob Tannick, who did a lot of the heavy lifting here. Clearly, we had a lot of ordinance space devoted to our utilities for water and wastewater. Since the sale to Virginia Water, that is no longer necessary and in fact is confusing. So Bob went through and deleted a lot of things, changed a few things, and came up with the updated chapter that we need to have going forward. During this, it was noted that there is a new section in here, section 30-19 on irrigation. We don't want to have anyone using potable water from the water works to the supplying irrigation systems. This ordinance will prevent that going forward. But it doesn't speak to anybody who who already have one installed. We're not actually aware of anyone who has one installed, but just in case there is. I know Steve had mentioned this to Bob and I, and it would probably be prudent for someone to recommend an amendment that would to section 30-19 that says that systems installed after the effective date, would be exempt. So if you put it on the floor, then perhaps someone would be willing to make that amendment.
Got it, go right ahead. Do I have a motion?
John Hope.
John Hosey. John Hosey. You're welcome.
So
Do we have a motion?
Paul's
Just I wanted clarification of what John just said. For landscaping, we're saying that people that have it, we're not sure who, but people have it as of this date will be able to retain it. Thereafter, we want to amend this and say, no, not even for landscaping are we going to have any
It
wells.
already says that, but we want to amend it for the people that have not, that may already be connected.
to the public water,
Oh,
not,
to public, okay, gotcha.
not,
All right,
don't confuse it with the shallow wells, because that's the only way to do it.
Oh, that's what I was gonna ask. Okay, so you have a shallow well in your phone.
Shallow well is different. I mean, this is talking about hooking it up to the actual
Waterworks.
waterworks system.
Gotcha.
So the draw from the aquifer opposed to shallow wells,
Gotcha.
which is a big difference.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve ordinance 2024-0718, revision of the town code on water and wastewater.
Second.
All right, this is well, I move for the adoption of ordinance 2024. What?
When can I make an amendment to the motion? Do we have to have it?
Right, yeah, now would be the right time. So now that you made a motion, put it on the floor, now would be the appropriate time for someone to make an amendment.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make an amendment to the motion for section 30-19, landscaping irrigation. Currently reads, no landscaping irrigation system shall be supplied by the waterworks. Such systems must be supplied by a shallow well withdrawing groundwater from the superficial aquifer, see section 12-1. I'd like to add a sentence to that that says, existing systems connected to the waterworks as of July 18th, 2024 are exempt from this requirement.
I'll second that.
All right, is there any discussion on that? All in favor of adding the sentence?
Aye.
All right. Back to the original motion and seconded. This is a roll call vote. Bennett,
Yes.
Buckholz,
Yes.
Buda,
Yes.
Fulmer not in attendance, Grossman,
Yes.
and Holloway.
Yes.
All right, that ordinance passes unanimously. All right, moving on.
Great.
Request
Thank you,
for,
Bob. Thank you, Bob.
yes. Request for handicap parking designation at 507 Tazewell Avenue.
So, Mr. Mayor, this is one of those things I bring forward when qualified. Last time we did this, the council gave staff some guidance as to what would qualify, and we were interested in only considering this for full-time residents. So this is a full-time resident who is requesting a handicap spot. Of course, that goes through VDOT. By approving this resolution, that's what VDOT needs to consider the request. So staff would recommend your consideration and approval.
Can I get a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution 2024-0718.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion? All right, so in support of the request from Lawrence and Catherine Verber for the designation of a handicap parking space at 507 Tazewell Avenue as noticed and forego reading of the resolution. Again, roll call vote, Holloway,
Yes.
Grossman,
Yes?
Buda,
Yes.
Buckholz,
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
All right, that has been passed unanimously as well. All right, moving on. Mr. Hosey, any comments this evening?
Just very briefly, Mr. Mayor, first of all, I'd also like to thank Katie and Jeb and their staffs for putting together that report. I think they're doing a fabulous job with that, and I appreciate them keeping you in the loop on it. One other minor point, I also wanted to extend my appreciation to Councilman Grossman, who sat down with me and our interim treasurer, we're going to try to fine-tune the treasurer's report going forward, which I think will provide you with better information and be more streamlined for staff to do. So we'll be looking for some changes in that starting next month. Other than that, just a reminder, and you're going to cover it in a second here, but we do have a work session for the Beachfront Master Plan coming up on the 25th, a work session with that committee, and we've got some. We will be going over the results of the survey for you and giving you the current ideas that we're thinking of, and looking forward to getting your input on it. Other than that, Mr. Mayor, unless there's any questions, that's all I've got.
Thank you. Any other comments from council this evening?
I have one, Mr. Mayor. Just to follow up with Mr. Hosey there, short-term rental taken from council last work session that we have now drafted a draft ordinance and have submitted it to our subcommittee. And we'll be meeting on the 31st to go through that, and if we can reach somewhat consensus or even just provide input to Mr. Hosey, he will be bringing that back to council for further discussion,
In the August meeting or work session?
depending on what the outcome of.
Well, so if I could follow up on that. So yes, what Councilman Grossman said is correct. I think we're getting close to bringing something back to you that covers the guidance you gave us at the last work session. But when I bring it back to you, it will be in work session again to allow us the opportunity to discuss these things and make sure that it's the way you want it. So it will not be at the regular meeting in August. If everything goes well after I get back from this trip, I will poll you all for your availability for a work session as soon as possible after that.
All right, thank you. All right, well, I guess I'll finish off with some comments. First of all, I just want to thank the town, Ralph, everybody else for an unbelievable, our police force, unbelievable job 4th of July. It was incredible. I can't believe how many people we had. I think it turned out perfect that we had the fireworks the next night, got to enjoy Cherry Stone, and then had our fireworks, which blew them away once again, which I was very happy about. Anyway, like John had mentioned, on the 25th, we will be having a work session for the beachfront master plan. Very excited about that. August 1st, town council work session if needed.
Do we know if that's needed?
We're going to find out, I guess, after you guys meet on the 31st.
I'm gonna be out of town,
Okay.
so I hope we.
There's currently no need for a work session on August 1st.
Okay, so we will scratch that. August 6th, joint work session with Planning Commission and zoning ordinance. August 15th, town council regular meeting. And I have to also let you know that the 10th or 8th through the 10th will be the Doc Dogs event once again. And, yeah, very excited about that. We've got our vendors lined up. We've got food trucks lined up, so it's going to be a much bigger event than last year. We've got a lot of clubs that have already committed that they're coming, so very excited about that. If you have a dog, don't have a dog, please come out and join us that weekend.
How are we gonna, are we gonna advertise it?
I've already been advertising it. Main Street will be advertising it. The town will be advertising it. So we'll get it out there, and as well as the club itself, Doc Dogs will be putting it out there usually about 6 to 8 weeks before the actual event. So, all right, if there's not anything else, if I can get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.